ladies and gentlemen, on the guest list this week, we have a true original and outlaw, a guy who does things his own way. He has a new record coming out in March. We have Cody Jinks on the podcast. Cody, how are you, brother?
I'm well. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I'm glad to be here with you guys.
Glad to have you here. Now, you said you've been doing a lot of press. Is this getting old to you at this point?
No, it's really not. There was a 5-year period where I refused to do interviews. I used to not grant very many, but this year, circumstantially, it's time. I feel like I'm sitting on the best record, really I've ever been a part of. Um, we have a lot of things to prove, being self-managed now, me and my team, and we needed to get out there and be more of a presence. So I've stepped not necessarily out of my comfort zone, but I've been doing a lot more media lately, and it's actually been great. It's not that I really missed it or didn't miss it, but at this point in my career, I guess there's just enough to talk about because I've been doing
Mm-hmm.
it so long that years and years ago, I guess there wasn't a lot to talk about. So I got really burned out on the, so Cody, how'd you get your start questions?
Oh, God.
I've been doing it 25 years. So it's like, hey, let's talk about your 11th record, you old bastard.
I mean, dude, we're talking about change the game, and I don't want to go into your entire story because it's known, and I mean, we'll touch on parts of it, but the first single, "Change the Game," is kind of a story behind the story. I just want to know first off, how does it feel to come out swinging with kind of a middle finger from the jump and being like, "I did change the game, and I'm looking out for everybody coming up behind me." Like, tell me the story behind the song.
I wrote that with Morningstar, and I was like, dude, how do we sound cocky without sounding too cocky? How do we, how do we say, hey, I told you what I was going to do. I did what I told you I was going to do. Now I'm telling you, I told you what I was going to do, and I'm telling you what I'm going to keep doing. And after I accomplish that, I'm going to tell you I told you what I did again.
Yeah, brother. Dude, that's
You
the
know,
dream.
I was like, how do we say that without sounding like a complete dick? So we had a lot of fun writing that song. And it's really the only song of its kind on that record. The rest of it's not like that at all. It's the overall attitude for the record. And I love playing that song live.
There has to be a level of catharsis to have that feeling in your gut of being like, "I told you so," and then find a way to synthesize that into a song. Did you feel like kind of like a weight off your shoulders to be like, "All right, I finally got to say it. We can move on now." Did you ever have that feeling when you were finishing the song up?
Um, I don't know if I necessarily had that particular feeling. I do after I do write a song, I try not to write another one like it. So, in that respect, yeah. It's kind of like move on from there.
Mm-hmm.
Where did that
I
song come in the process in terms of the rest of the songs in the album? Was it early in it or later?
midway.
Midway? And
Yeah, I was
did
about
it
midway.
shape then the rest of the songs that you were writing for the album?
No, not necessarily.
Hmm.
I think the overall attitude, uh, the art, everything from the songs to the artwork is significant really on this record because the cover of the record is supposed to look like some kind of like medieval, like big book of records or Bible or whatever, and then when you open it up, it's a lot of goofy pictures of the band. So I wanted it to be like, kind of like a crab, like a tough exterior looking, kind of like what we are, but the songs really encompass more of a vulnerable look. Um, you know, the change the game, the song itself as the title track to have that bravado with this big, cool, badass looking cover, and but at the same time, really show the softer side of the band that's been together for so long now, um, and have been a lot of have really been enigmatic. A lot of people haven't really known us because we're not we're not on the videos and we're not in the award shows and we don't do the Grammys and we don't, all that kind of stuff. So it's given everybody a more personal look in a much more real way.
there is something funny about being vulnerable and looking like you could easily be a side character on Sons of Anarchy. I want to say that I give you some credit for that because it's funny too. Because once again, I'm doing my research into your history. Of course, you've blazed the trail that you have in country music, but you have your background too in like heavy metal and things like that. So it's funny. Like, what is it about dudes with beards like that? You guys can just float between those two genres effortlessly. Like, it's an easy thing for you guys.
I don't know. To me, I, I grew up country. That's my first and foremost, my love. But man, I'm a huge punk and metal guy. I conduct my country and I write my songs, my country songs, but I conduct my business like an old DIY punk band. And, I have heavy lyrical content, more like a metal song or an angry punk song. So I just took my favorite things and just, and really at the end of the day, it's country, blues and rock and roll. It's honky tonk music. Just, it's pretty heavy content matter for the most part.
Yeah. Who do you consider within the country, like, landscape right now as a contemporary? Because when I think of you, I think of like bands like Blackberry Smoke and bands like that. Like, who do you consider within your realm of like what you do? Like,
Smoke's up there. I mean, those guys have been around forever. We got a lot of shows coming up with them this year, and we're excited. I don't know. Jamie Johnson does whatever the hell he wants to do.
yep.
There's not many. There's not many. I mean, and that's not trying to. I'm not trying to be bold or anything. Nobody's done what I've done, so there's not like any like me per se. But in terms of bands that I see that have more control over what they want to do because they are more of a force and more of a hard-headed, not just I'm going to do this because my label says so.
Right.
I got to give big respect to guys like Eric Church, who, it's Luke, dude, going out with Luke Combs this year, big respect to him. Because I got to be honest with you, man, most people don't have the balls to want us to open for them.
Yeah, I was gonna say you guys bring so much energy too. Like, there is something about like having your opener bring that kind of fire and then you go out and do your thing. But either way, just to bring somebody who's not necessarily, obviously you guys are very successful, but like on the outside of like the industry side of things, to bring somebody like that on the road is a pretty cool move by Luke.
Yeah, it's flattering for us because here's the deal: we're running direct support for him this year. We're not on ACM, CMAs, or Grammys, and like we're running direct support for one of the biggest tours in the country.
It's unbelievable.
Like, you tell me who's winning.
Yeah,
it's me. I'm winning, dude.
When did this control aspect of your career like come into play? Because I know every artist starts out thinking, I'm gonna sign a deal, I'm gonna run in this area, and then some people just find their way around it. Like, was that always a goal of yours? Was that always the plan, or did that become something once you got in the industry? You were like, I can't do this kind of like manufactured stuff.
No, I learned that at a very early age. I had a meeting with a big record label. I was 27, and I figured out what a developmental deal was and how bad they screw you on everything, even on your regular deals. And now they just screw you harder with 360 deals, and it's all very ugly. I saw that back then. I wanted to remain. I would rather be poor and own my own ass, and know that it was going to pay off later. And then for a decade, I had a great relationship with my management, and he helped me achieve that.
Right.
The vision was mine. The end game for me was to own everything. My former management helped me to get to that point. Consequently, I think that I hit a ceiling having that because, it got to the point to where I didn't see where we were going to go from there. It's like, okay, you're the largest independent artist, yada, yada, yada. What next? And I started asking about the what next. And I just felt like that was the right move for me and my staff, my road crew, my band, my office staff, my warehouse people that take care of my merch. It just made sense. And so it's a much more hands-on approach. I've learned a lot But it's been pretty tough sledding to get to where we're at. But man, I really think
Well,
it's been worth it.
I was going to ask, how do you juggle that? Like you're the artist, you're the CEO, you're like, how involved are you in the day to day? And has it been a long process getting the team in place where you feel like you can delegate and then just focus on the songwriting and the music side of things more?
Yeah, it's kind of weird because I was telling somebody yesterday I have to know when and how to change hats and have the songwriter hat on, have the marketing hat on, have the whatever, all the different facets of it, and then turn it all off and be the husband and father. And um, you know, and when it came down to it, I thought to myself, everything that's happened in my career, whether or not I have a manager, I have to know about it anyway. Managers are more of a buffer to where you don't have to do it. So I do a lot of work. I work constantly, but I've found that I really enjoy the career, being in control more. Most of my staff has been with me for a very long time. After I split up with my management, I actually went back and hired some staff that I had previously to come back and help with some goals that we had originally had. So, that's been a journey for all of us, and the people that I have are so great, and we help each other out a lot. They help me out. I ask a bunch of stupid questions, but we're doing really, really well right now, and everybody's super excited.
Cody, it's awesome, man. I have nothing but the utmost respect for you as an entrepreneur and an artist. I don't know how the hell you find time to do both those things and have a family. I think you must have clones running around or something. But my question is, speaking back to when you first started to now, how have you navigated that, how much the landscape's changed between now and then, with starting when music was actually, a physical medium, buying, CDs, cassettes, records, and now with everything digital? Has it been easier for you from, the distribution side and getting stuff out, or has it been more difficult, bigger pain in the ass?
No, it's actually easier. We still sell a lot of physicals because autograph purposes and stuff like that. But naturally, it's been easier. The learning curve for me, more so than anything, has been I'm not very technologically savvy, regardless. So staying on top of all the socials, TikTok and Instagram and Facebook, and making sure that YouTube channel is rocking and rolling, and just all the different avenues. I have like I said, I have a really, really great staff that helps with all of that. But I get reminders that say, hey, you need to do a TikTok. I get I have people that help me out with all that. But it's been different. It's been a learning curve. I feel like I was saying a while ago to somebody, I was like, I kind of feel like I'm kind of one of the last to do it the way that, like, the old school way. I feel like I'm kind of on that cusp, because we are using the social media to our benefit. We're not behind in that. We're not ahead of the curve, but we're where we need to be in that regard. So I feel good about that. I like I said, I have to be reminded, hey, you need to do this, and I go and do it.
Hey, be honest with us. How much do you love TikTok?
My favorite thing has been
He's trying to find a way to lie right now.
Come on, man.
No,
come on.
my
Put
favorite
your politician hat on.
No. All honesty, my favorite thing has been the reaction videos that I don't speak, because I think it's funnier if I just nod my head and like, I make fun of Ward Davis in some of them. I just look at him doing something or saying something stupid and just shake my head. In that regard, I think that's funny, because then I get to turn that into a bit, and it's not just hey guys, da 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 da. It's anyway. So I'm learning to figure out what I like to do on those avenues and outlets, and trying to stay with that kind of stuff because, I'm look, there's a squirrel, and I need to stay interested.
Love it.
I'm sorry. This kid just stood on top of his toys to crawl out of his thing. I am in hell
Yeah.
over here, boys. Oh
Hey,
my.
it's all right, man.
I did have a question kind of going off of the CEO role, right? So you're doing so many things, you're wearing so many hats. Have you ever found that it's taken a toll on the songwriting side of things? Because I'm kind of in this phase right now where I'm wearing a lot of hats and I can't get a song out of me to save my life. Like that side of me is completely warped to the point where like I'm diverting my attention elsewhere. Do you ever have like a hard time compartmentalizing and getting songs out of yourself when you're busy worrying about merch and TikToks and touring and running what you do run?
Yes. I mean, yeah. It's but ultimately, I think it outweighs the positives outweigh it because, like I said, I've just learned how to wear that hat a little better, and I have to make myself do certain things at certain times. And I'm not really that disciplined of a person, but I've had to learn in the last really over the last year, but more so in the last 6 to 8 months, um, not to schedule, but to maybe routinely do things more. Um, so looking at it in that respect, it's gotten a bit easier. When I have my staff meetings on Mondays, we really cover the majority of what we need to cover. I get bullet points and texts and emails throughout the week on things we need to do. I've always been the type of writer to where I write in spurts. I'll go months without writing a song, and then a lot of songs will come at once, and I'll co-write a lot at once.
Same
So
here. Yeah, it's
I,
streaky.
I'm very streaky. Now, I don't believe in writer's block. Uh, my friend Tennessee Jet told me one time we were talking about writer's block, and he said, "I just don't believe in writer's block." And I said, "Well, how do you not believe in writer's block?" He goes, "Well, sometimes you just write and sometimes you don't." He said, basically, he goes, your input creates your output. So as long as you have input coming in, he goes, you're going to have output. He goes, whether it's good or bad, if you have input, you'll create output. So it's all about filling yourself with proper input in order to have output, or going through an experience that will give you that output too. There's always something to write about if you're thinking, pondering, reflecting, learning, seeking, whatever.
Yeah, it's like you have to go through a couple of those stages of the dry spells to realize that it is just a cyclical thing. Because I think the first time like young songwriters hit one of those, what you'd call a block, which obviously isn't actually a block, it can be like, oh, that's it, I'm done. You live through enough of those cycles and you realize, well, yeah, we're just kind of moving round and round and round.
Yes, well, 100%. And on top of that, you factor in by the time you get older and meet more people in the business, some of my biggest songs have been, co-writes after I finally got comfortable. My first 3 or 4 records, I had no co-writes on. And then I met all these amazing writers over the years. So growing comfortable with a lot of those people, that's benefited me as a writer too, being around better writers as well.
But so if not the writer's block side of things, but even on the business side, in your career, that obviously you've gone your own way, as I said earlier, what has been the biggest roadblock for you? Was there ever a moment in your journey in independence that was like, I can't get around this one thing, and then you finally got around it, whether it be radio play, whether it be the lack of videos on CMTV or CMT or anything like that? Like, what was the biggest kind of like avenue you had to go around to get where you are today?
I don't know what the biggest one was, because every time I hit a roadblock or whatever, and I would just bounce off and go another direction. If I had to go somewhere else, I'd go. Radio's always been tough for us. That's really one way that record labels, corner the market for mainstream radio. But
It's almost like there's collusion or something.
It's almost like there's something there that like we just can't put our finger on it. There might be somebody pulling the strings on this. I can't figure it out for the life of me.
I don't know. Yeah.
You know, Johnny,
Yeah.
that's big from you being that every time I got in my car in the year like 2012, your song was blaring in my face. So I don't want to
Hey,
hear it, brother.
I didn't say like I was anti-collusion. When when it's working for you, it's good to be part of the mob.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess that's true.
100%.
I guess that's
100%.
true.
Yeah.
No, man, I truly like we talk a lot about independence on this podcast. We're all musicians. We all deal with this industry. And to watch somebody be able to figure it out and be able to stand on top of that little mountain right there and be like, oh yeah, I did do this my way. Everyone appreciate this. And even if you don't appreciate it, it's what it is. Like what you're doing truly is amazing. And then to go on the road with Luke, who is that other side of country. Although I feel like Luke gets credit from both sides. You know what I mean? Like Luke isn't just like a pop country artist. Luke gets love universally. I think one thing I want to ask you too is like, obviously there is a kind of a divide right now within the country music world between more of the rootsy country stuff, more of the Appalachian country stuff, and then like the Nashville industry. Do you feel that? Like, is that something that you like acknowledge and people in your circle acknowledge, or is it just kind of like we're all doing our own thing?
We're all doing our own thing.
Yeah.
You know, I I have friends that are all over, in every kind of whatever subgenre or whatever of country music. If you want to do the singer songwriter thing, the Americana thing, the alt country, the outlaw country, the mainstream country, this, that, and the other.
The Beyonce
Um,
country.
the yeah, I saw that. I have not heard any of that. I don't know if it's is it worth my time?
I'm not gonna lie, I kind of love it.
Okay.
Oh, dude,
Cool.
I won't take up this podcast for my rant, and I'll get my soapbox out later. But I've written an entire album that is the counter to Beyonce's country album.
Are you doing a Beyonce album?
No, it's like an ode to her in like a negative way.
I think it's funny because on a lot of I think the end of the year last year we did like our predictions for 2024, and I said you're going to see a lot of people going country, and then as soon as the year started, Beyonce did and Lana Del Rey did, and I was like, well, I was right about that one. Like you got some competition coming your way, bro.
Yeah. I don't know if my crowd's really a Lana or Beyonce crowd. Maybe. I hope they those are two very, very talented individuals. So yeah, I'll have to check out
I mean, I feel like ultimately
the
it brings more earballs. What do you call
Earballs,
earballs?
yeah. It brings
Brings
the
more
earballs.
Brings more
earballs.
earballs to the scene. So I think ultimately it's a positive thing, like and sometimes a particular genre needs a shakeup to
Yeah.
kind of get out of its ruts. I think it's more like directed in the commercial sense. I feel like Cody here is like when you've blazed your own path in the way that you have, you're not subject to all these things coming in and like changing trends and all. It's like you just do what you do. You know what I mean?
Mhm,
And that's such
mhm.
an enviable position that it's so I have so much respect and like envy in a good way of it. Like, holy shit, that's just what I want to do. You do your own fucking thing. Then you're not constantly thinking every day, what about,
Yeah, we've always been one of those bands. We wanted our crowd to grow up with us. So, like you
Mm.
just said, if more people get their earballs on country music, then that's ultimately going to help all of us. And if it takes people like Lana Del Rey and Beyonce and stuff like that, great, because somebody may go yada yada and turn it on this, and that channel gets linked up with so and so, and they hear this song and it leads them to this song or whatever in the algorithm, and then it's like, oh man, they're hearing your song or my song or whatever. Ultimately
Yeah.
everybody wins in that. But and I agree. I think that country music has needed a shake up for a long time. I think that mainstream credible country artists are starting to rear their heads again, and I'm happy about that. Now let's all understand as well, and everybody listening, everything is cyclical. I mean, everything goes through a turd phase, and my son and I were actually talking about this yesterday. He's very knowledgeable about music, and he loves music a lot, and He's more of a metal guy, but he was talking. He goes, "Dad, what do you think was the worst decade or 20-year period for country music?" And I said it would either be the aughts of the 2000s or the 2010 to 2020. I said we're on an upswing now.
Oh, for sure.
I said,
Yeah.
the 90s were great, the 80s were great, the 70s were great, the 60s were great, 50s, 40s, 30s, all the way back to the 20s when Jimmy Rogers started recording. Like, they were all great. And then something happened at the turn of the century. And I can tell you what it was. It was the conglomerates and the collusion and all the bullshit and whatnot. And we know what it is, but it was the big media companies doing what the big media companies do and just shoving their bullshit.
I feel
down
like
your
there was
throat.
an element also from 2000 to 2020 where country became so aligned with like politics,
Yes.
like that it killed it. It's like I don't care what side anyone's on it, but when it becomes so focused on one thing that's not music, it loses it. It's like people have always had differing political opinions, but when it overtakes the true impetus for music, which is music, then it kind of kills it.
Well, listen, you saw that happen early 2000s with the Dixie Chicks and the George Bush thing, and people throwing their stuff away, and the FUTK and the all that stuff. So that's really when you started seeing it. So really, I told him, I said the worst 20 years for country music was probably 2020 to 2020, or 2000 to 2020, or take any 20-year period in there. And thankfully, we're seeing a resurgence. We're seeing an uptick. We're seeing great songs coming out. I mean, dude, we have some great country artists coming out right now. And a lot of people have been around for a long time. Look how long Ashley McBride's been kicking around. Cody Johnson's been kicking around.
Chris Stapleton.
Stapleton's been writing songs for 150 years now.
Yep.
So it's but it's really it's in a much better place. And for somebody that the majority of my career has been the last 20 years, it's really refreshing for me, just as an independent artist who didn't go down that road, because man, I couldn't swallow a lot of that shit.
It is funny that you listed out like for your son the period of time that is the worst, and you basically could have just said the scope of my career has been the worst.
Scope.
The entire time I've been doing music has been awful.
You're exact. Well, you're right. And for metal too, because Sans, like, I love heavy music, so I use that as a reference. But Sans, Slipknot, Lamb of God, really getting big in the late 90s and being a couple of the bigger metal bands that have owned the 2000s. You don't see the market for that as much anymore, but the real music was always there. But now metal's starting to do better again, as well as punk. And also, you also see the music get better when shit's fucked up.
Right.
And it's because people are getting back to the real, and they're having that reality of, the reason punk music was so angry back in the mid to late 70s was because Britain was in dire straits, man. Britain was, it was not good over here. You had the 70s in America. We were looking for something because the 70s, like, we had this renaissance for women, because they're like, man, screw that 40s, 50s, 60s housewife bullshit. We're going to go out, this and that. And we're not hippies. We're pissed off, women's movement, and rights for different kinds of people. And
I think, unfortunately, what you're saying is, for the music to get good, we got to go through some shitty times. So it seems like we might be headed there, because music does seem to be a bit on an uptick.
I think so. Because I think when you evoke real emotion and it's not manufactured, and forgive me I'm not trying to bash anybody, but it's not like a Florida Georgia Line song that, was one of the 1785 weeks on #1 for one of the biggest pieces of shit ever recorded, because dumb people were told that that's what they should listen to.
Yeah, Florida Georgia Line doesn't exactly. The Florida Georgia Line doesn't exactly evoke like economic strife, that's when we're balling. When songs
Well,
like
what do we? Yeah, but look
when-
at what we're doing now. They're not around anymore. Like shit's bad. People want to listen to real shit now.
yeah, everything's bad, so we want to sit around and listen to Zach Bryan and drink in the dark. That's
But-
basically where we are right now.
Back to this kind of, how things have swung upwards. Do you ever think back to those days where, yourself and the true artists and true country fans were, I remember late 90s, early 2000s, how pissed off everyone was that country couldn't get the time of day from the masses and how overlooked it was. And Garth Brooks is the biggest selling artist in the world, and he's not nominated for any Grammys, and can't get a Grammy performance. And it was just kind of like country was this redheaded stepchild in terms of the mass music market in this country, and now it's turned into the monster that it's kind of always been. It's, how many award shows do they have now? How many artists are in, the Hot 100 on Billboard? Those are pop charts, and country's crossed over, and not just crossed over, but it's completely overtaken popular music in this country.
It has, and for a myriad of reasons. But look, years ago, Jamie Johnson and George Strait wrote a song called "Kicked Out of Country." Guess who can go put 100,000 people in a room? George Strait still can. Okay, most of the other people can't. Luke can, Morgan can, but most of the other people can't do that. It shows you how fake and shitty the country music business was and became, and what it had gotten to. I think they're trying to get some of their credibility back now by having all the cross genres and everything. I don't begrudge anybody of anything, but having all the cross genres and all those, country has known that it's been sucking hind tit for a long time because they're trying to add everything they can to get people's interest, to get targets from different demographics, to get different genres to come and listen to this. Some of it's watered down and shitty. Some of it's kind of cool. I don't know. Nobody asked my opinion. I'm not on those shows. They don't ask me to sing on them. But, the fact of the matter is that at the end of the day, the good songs win. And really, I stopped, being mad about this, that, or the other. I'm obviously opinionated, but like, it doesn't bother me. It's all fake. It's all pageantry. And somebody asked me a question the other day about awards or award shows or something. And I was like, look, man, you'll never see me up there getting any of those awards. Cause first of all, I don't personally get any sort of fulfillment or gratification by watching rich people jerk each other off over mediocre music.
Boom. Yes.
Us neither. Us
neither.
That's an entire subgenre of porn, by the way.
Okay, cool.
I don't peruse, but it's there.
I was going to say they find that on the browser, right?
Yeah,
Dude.
just search Grammys on Pornhub.
But no, it's not just that. It also ties into what you said earlier about that kind of whiplash in the early 2000s when, these artists started becoming outspoken politically, and there was all this shock that people were pissed off by that. And I think, people realize or fans go to music as an escape from all that bullshit. The last thing they want is to be preached to by people that help them, forget about all that terrible garbage that is everyday life.
Yeah, I think
here's you can write a song. Listen, as a songwriter, your job is to translate to people what you're thinking, what you're feeling. You can write anything you want to write in a song, right? And people are going to love it, whether it's left wing, right wing. You wrote a song about it because you care about that. And people want to hear your song. Other than that, shut the fuck up. Dude, you will not go to one of my shows and hear me say a damn thing political. I have not. I will not. It is not my fucking business to get up there and try to sway your opinion. It's my business to get up there and get you away from that shit for about 3 hours.
I mean, that's the thing is too, there's also like what's the word I'm looking for here? Like a authenticity to it. Like if there's certain artists that you know that that's what they're about, and if you go to their shows, that's what you're going to get. And then when it feels manufactured is when I feel like people get themselves into trouble in that we can tell it's not real. But if it's what's in your heart, then go ahead. But if your job for as Cody Jinks is to get people away from it, be Cody Jinks. Don't try and be anybody else. That's the real crux of what the music industry is.
Well, yeah, and sing about it. But here's the thing: record labels aren't going to let artists put out some of the stuff I put out. Like I can write whatever I want and I can put it in a song and I can tell you, go pound sand, go do something, whatever. And, I have that ability, most people don't have that, and they don't have to do everything the record labels tell them to, but they have to do most things record labels tell them to. And they don't get to, you don't get to truly be an artist unless you can truly put everything out that you want to. And I'm able to do that. And if you really listen to my music, you're going to know what I believe. I don't need to tell you at my shows. You need to come and sing and dance and spill beer on your neighbor.
Can I make a small observation? Because I'm a new Texan. I moved here 3 years ago, like all the rest of the people from California. But I'll say my wife's from Midland, Texas. So I feel like I'm grandfathered in. But
Okay.
there's like she's from the Texas of Texas. But
That is, yeah.
There's something I've noticed here in Texas that is really refreshing is that there's an actual diversity of opinion here. People have an idea about what Texas is, particularly from the coast. They think Texas is one thing. And then you get here and there's a true diversity of opinion and you can have your opinion. I'll leave you alone. Like, I'm not even talking about politically. There's just kind of I don't know how to describe it. It's just like, yeah, that's cool. I mean, look, I'm in Austin. It's laid back. I know there's different parts of Texas, but it's everywhere I've traveled when I've toured around Texas, people are way more just like live and let live than I think they're given credit to in most people's idea of what Texas is. And it's just something that I found now weirdly inspiring in the musical sense in terms of what you're saying about like being able to write whatever the fuck you want and do what you want and then not have to be worrying about other people's thoughts being imposed on that.
Basically, I'll answer you with this. It's a matter of in Texas, and I'm not going to speak negatively about any other state. I love them all. They're great people. I was just in New York and talked to some local New Yorkers that they're just salt of the earth. I love them. And there's people like that all over this great country. We're not as divided as the media likes to make us look.
Yeah.
I will say that. But I will say this about Texas specifically because I can speak to that. I am from here. There are a lot of places in this country that they want you to come and celebrate. And hey, you need to come here because we're different. We think different, and we want you to be free to think different too, as long as you think the same kind of different we do. So, okay. It ain't like that in Texas. Texas is like, oh man, that you think that? Oh, that's okay. Whatever, dude. Hey, we're eating barbecue at 4. You want some?
Oh, Texas. Texas is one of my favorite states I've been to. Other than, well, I didn't realize you were from Texas. Cowboys fan?
Oh, diehard. I'm from there. I mean, I was born like 3 minutes from where the stadium's at.
It's a shame. The damn shame.
It's hard, bro. It's been tough the last 31 years, man.
Yeah, you bet it is, dude.
Whatever.
I don't know if you noticed my hat right now, but that's how I feel.
Oh, Lord. Yeah. Oh, buddy. I didn't notice that. No, I wished I had.
Well, that's how we're gonna cap the interview off. Actually, I feel like that's like the appropriate way to cap the interview off.
No, you're all right. I'll tell you a funny thing about I went and had a beer. We were playing in Philadelphia one night, and I had a beer at this place. It was me and Tennessee Jet. We walked down, and they had a beer called Dallas Sucks IPA.
I have it in my fridge right now.
Do you?
Yeah.
Okay, and I laughed so hard, and I ordered one of those, and I drank it, and the beer was great. And I asked the lady, I said, "Hey, can I keep this?" It's sat on my shelf for like 6 or 7 years, but I was in there one night. The only time I ever got not let into one of my shows was in Philadelphia. And you guys have your reputation for a reason. And I've had great shows there, and I love people from Philadelphia. I love everybody, even Eagles fans. Jesus tell me to.
You're a liar, bro.
No, you guys are the worst. You guys are absolutely the worst. Like, I hate you guys worse than I do Giants fans and Commanders fans combined.
Feelings
You guys are
mutual,
awful.
brother. Feelings mutual.
I know, but this is so funny. We were playing in Philadelphia. I was playing with Whitey Morgan years and years and years ago, and we were playing like a 300 cap room. And I went to smoke a cigarette right before we went on. I didn't have my credentials on because I had taken my credentials off because I was about to play. And I stepped out the side door, and there were two dudes sitting there on the stoop, and they go, I have balloons in my thing. Two dudes sitting there on the thing, and they watched me walk out and smoke, and like I have, my cowboy hat on, like I'm ready to go. I'm like all this stuff. I turn around to walk back in, and the dude goes, we're like in downtown Philly at a rock box, man. And the dude goes, where you going? And I was like, I gotta go play. He goes, "Are you playing?" Like the dude had just watched me walk out. I was like, "You playing?" And I was like, "Yep, I'm playing, man. Just I gotta go back in." He goes, "You gotta go in there?" And I go, "Yep, I gotta go in there." And he goes, "Nah, not in there yet." I go, I was like, "What?" And he goes, "You got your credentials?" I go, "No, I just took them off. Came out here and smoked. I'm about to go out." And we're talking like 3 minutes until showtime. I'm opening for Whitey that night. And so I'm kind of going back and forth with this guy. And I'm not being rude. I know he's just fucking with me. And it's funny, and I don't get uptight about shit like that. But I just pulled my ID out. I go, "Look, see that? It says Cody Jinks. See that sign right there? It says Cody Jinks." And he goes, "Yeah, you don't have your credentials." He kept fucking with me. And finally, I just go, "All right, guys, I got you. Listen, if I'm not on that stage in an hour, whenever I do walk out on that stage, I'm going to say, I'm sorry I was late. The two assholes you have on the door wouldn't let me back in." Or something like that. And the guy goes, "Yeah, you can go ahead."
Love it, dude. That's my people right there, man. That's my people.
Philadelphia, man. That's Philadelphia.
This is the difference, though. You're from Texas, so we give you leeway. It's the non-Texas Cowboys fans that we
stop. Dude. You guys are the worst to everybody, even your own.
That's right. If you're not us, get the hell out of here, bro.
Yeah.
Cody, they're playing the violin music. They're making us wrap this up.
Okay, no problem, man. That's fun. No, that was a fun way to end it. I can't wait to get back to Philly. Actually, I was supposed to be in Philly for a convention, and I ended up not being able to go. So I was looking forward to taking my kids. There's a bunch of great history there.
Listen, brother, if you're here, we'll take care of you. You call me, we'll take care of you, all right?
I appreciate that very much. Hey, look,
just don't wear any of that crap with a star on it, brother. We'll be all right.
I don't want. Hey, I'm old. I can't fight anymore. I'm slow. I don't need to get my ass kicked in Philly, brother.
I can't fight either, so be careful, all right?
All right, we'll do.
I think you're in good hands, man. I think Bill Belichick's going to be coaching your team by the end of the season, and
probably
things turn out well when that happens. So
we'll see, man. I'm not going to argue. I don't know. We'll see.
Good luck.
Right. Ladies and gentlemen, go check out Cody's new album in March. Go see him on tour. Cody Jinks, you are the man.
You're the man. Thank you.